G'day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at how the Siblings Bond category mission is for the Fighting Legend Vegeta. So in terms of the Siblings Bond category, there's a new lead that's recently come out, or semi-recently, in the form of Tapion and Minotia. I think they're a great unit, and I think they're not necessary for the run, but I definitely think they are one of the better units for the run, especially considering, even the last phase being AGL. I think they are great. In terms of the rest of the team, we're going to have the recently EZA Tapion. He's a fantastic unit. He pairs brilliantly with the Tapion and Minotia LR, and he's going to be the one rotation. So them and Tapion are going to be great. Tapion is just a brick wall defensively. He can tank supers from the final phase for like 100k with ease, and Tapion and Minotia, although they definitely cannot tank, at least at 55%, 100k from the supers, they have damage reduction of 15% for every super attack fired in a turn. Now if they hit their 18 key, they have a chance at an additional attack. So they can basically have a 30% damage reduction quite consistently. In the other rotation, we're going to be rocking the Mystic Gohan, or the Ultimate Gohan, or Teen Gohan, or whatever people like to call him. A classic unit, just brilliant at long form events, brilliant at most events. Guard against all types, greatly raises his defense, gets a very chunky amount of attack, also at 55%. And we've got him paired up with the GT duo of Goten and Trunks. A great unit. They support Goku's family and Vegeta's family, which is nice because they're going to be providing a buff to Gohan obviously, and then they'll be providing a buff to every single one of our floaters, which is really great, giving them extra defense. Then we have the other GT duo, that's the form of Goten and Gohan. Now Goten and Gohan only give a GT Heroes buff, but that's okay. It's not really the biggest problem in the world. They're going to be giving that buff 33% of the time to the Goten and the Trunks, which is okay, but more importantly they tank really well, especially in the floater slot, because they gain defense on their super of 150%, which is very impressive, and then they also greatly raise their attack and defense, and they have a chance to fire an additional super attack. They're very solid. I have one dupe in mine and they tank perfectly fine. They're a little bit scared around the final int phase, but beyond that they literally are perfect. And then we have the Go Bros unit, the LR, Goten and Gohan. I took a friend one because I believe they do need to be probably they need to have at least 2 dupes. I feel like 2 dupes makes them quite comfortable on the stage. Not fully comfortable defensively, but very solid. And their offensive output warrants bringing them, especially for the final phase. They can absolutely decimate Vegeta in the final phase, which is, pretty helpful. So Go Bros, they're going to be the other floater. Just for now, we'll switch them in at the AGL phase. They'll stack up well before then, and they'll do some decent damage, but floating them is going to be the best option, especially since we have int phases and stuff like that, and we don't want them to do too much damage because we actually kind of need our GT duo to stack. Gohan would stack rapidly enough, but the GT duo need a little bit more time. So by putting Go Bros into the floating slot, we give ourselves just that extra 2 or 3 attacks that the GT duo would have, which just keeps their defense up to a good point. And then finally we have Android 18, great unit, got her EZA, super solid, can stack her defense in the floating position to decent levels, around 200k. Solid enough, good damage as well against physical stages. She's going to help us out floating there. Only really has type disadvantage to the final stage, where we'll be using the majority of our items anyway, and she's a full crit build. So she can still do some decent damage output against the AGL phase. The active skill for Tapion and Minotia we're going to save for the AGL phase, and the active skill for Ultimate Gohan we're probably going to use around the int physical stage, just depending on where our damage is lying and how high our defense is. And that's pretty much it. We've got 2 items. We've got the Whis, always take a Whis, I generally use them for the final phase, and then we've got 2 healing items in the form of Princess Snake. I like Princess Snake just because it's a 50% heal, also with some damage reduction for a turn. So it's kind of like a best of both worlds. You can also take something like a King Gemma. I know some people like to do that. Gives you defense for 2 turns. It's a 70% heal. We also took the Siblings Bond support memory that will kick in if we go below 50% health, giving us an 18% heal and an extra attack and defense for the turn. So overall, a really nice kit. The Siblings Bond team honestly handled this perfectly fine. There were some scary moments which we will take a look at throughout the video, but for the most part there was nothing that I would say was too intimidating. The strength phase generally wasn't a concern. The int phase also not a concern. The tech phase wasn't a concern because Tapion, the only AGL unit, can tank like an absolute beast. The early int phase is no problem. The second int phase does pose us a slight challenge, especially to Gobros, but Gobros and the Gohan and Goten units, we got lucky in that they didn't get supered. Everyone else was perfectly fine. So on that note, things were pretty lucky for us. Not too lucky, not like they were in the way of a lot of attacks, they weren't on main rotation or anything. Just the time that they each popped on the rotation, we got lucky. We do have some really good, so we have 2 dupes in Tapion, so that allows them to really crit quite nicely. Like I said, Android 18 is also critting quite nicely. Gobros, the 100% unit that I took, I ensured had a full crit build, because that is the best build for them in terms of damage output. They will rapidly reach their max attack stats quite quickly, and they have quite a high chance of firing additional supers as well. The Gobros, so the Gohan and the Goten, like I said, we have a dupe, so their output also pretty solid. They also crit build, so we just basically attempted to crit through. You can see here, obviously we have Gobros on the rotation. We're a little bit low on health. We took a slight super at the end of the last turn, so we're going to use this opportunity to use the item to restore our health and provide damage reduction to our Gobros. That way they don't really have, well, they shouldn't hopefully have a big risk of dying. A 100% Gobros does have around about 200k defense once they're fully stacked, with on this turn especially with the GT duo giving them support, they're just over 200k, so they should be okay from normals 100%. It's just against super attacks where we do have full health, so if we get hit, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. It's just that our next turn, we don't have a lot of heal. So our only healing we really have on this turn, obviously go on with his 600k defense, the GT Duo with their 400k defense provide a really solid premise of healing, which is great. But we do not have that on the other turn. The other turn, the Tapions really kind of, they can heal a bit. I mean, Tapion and Minotia have 200k defense, but both of them mainly have their defensive actions through damage reduction. Tapion has a massive amount of damage reduction. Tapion and Minotia have a massive amount of damage reduction. So both of those things are very, very good. We also are going to get, at the end of this end phase, we are going to get the transformation with the Tapion unit. Now you won't see it because I didn't film it. I cut this clip obviously to anticipate going to the next stage. You aren't going to see it, but we did get the Tapion transformation into Hirudegon just to finish off the int unit, which is fine. I think it probably is where I would like it to be active. Just that extra turn of damage allowed us to finish him off and just prevented us from using an item and gave us that turn. So that was really quite helpful. Obviously not really too many issues otherwise. You can see here AGL Tapion just tanking really solidly, 81k, no real problems, some good damage, getting those crits in. So yeah, just overall pretty solid. The team performs quite well. I do think Tapion, Minotia and Tapion are a super powerful duo combination. I think, not that they're absolutely necessary, but if you're someone who's got 2 dupes and a Gobros or something, definitely consider taking like a friend Tapion and Minotia, especially if they have a couple dupes in them. They are just a super good unit. Great damage, they support the other units on the rotation, damage reduction, and if you have Tapion, they're like a go-to defensive combination. So we'll be switching. We'll also be transforming this Gohan as well. So we're going to be transforming him. It'll also happen off screen, but we'll be transforming him at this point. The main reason being is his defense has hit the point where it's perfectly fine for the remainder of the event. And I want his attacks effective against all types against the physical phase, so that we can kind of speed our way through that as quickly as possible. Well, actually we didn't transform. Oh, we must have transformed him. I think we transformed him the next turn he came out. We didn't transform him then. Yeah, I'm waiting for him to hit. So when he transforms, he hits the 500k threshold. The reason why is because that will give me pretty much a like half health heal with 5 or 6 orbs, which is obviously really helpful, and just is kind of where you want him to be. You don't really want to cut his defensive stacking too short if you don't have to, because the higher his attack goes, the better he's going to be against the final phase. And realistically, you could leave him stacking forever if you wanted to. But I do like to transform him against the physical Vegeta, just because it does help us, especially with the attacks effective against all types, while Vegeta is above 50%. So that is quite helpful. You can see there Vegeta did about 150k to our GT duo. So Vegeta is clocking in at around 550 for a super attack, which is pretty rough. It is pretty rough. The next phase will hit 100k harder as well, so that is quite damaging. The Tapion and Minotia, so the Tapion combo, as we can see them now, they're perfectly fine. Tapion and Minotia, obviously being strength type, have full advantage against Vegeta, 200k defense, and damage reduction, so they're going to be fine. The GT duo of Gohan and Goten did really well as well. They tank normals for singles. On this phase, they do have one dupe though, but they tank really well. Then Android 18 obviously helps us out with being on that first turn, doing some decent damage, and you can see we're getting some decent damage, which you can see even with some strength type units, like Vegeta's health is dropping down quite low. And at this point, I want to get to the AGL phase as much as possible, mainly because I don't want to end up wasting a Whis on this phase, because the moment I have to waste a Whis or a heal or something on this phase, I'm going to be lacking it for my final turn against the AGL. And with the 2 strength units in my team, I don't want to risk being in a situation where I'm kind of out of items, or I'm maybe near the end and I don't have enough to carry me through the line, which you will see later on. We calculate quite a slim line in terms of how we get across. But yeah, here's where the Gobros will thrive. Realistically, I could switch them onto rotation now. I'm against that simply just because I don't want to break up the Tapion and Minotia combo. I also kind of want to just see, I wanted to see how they do with a Whis active. So you can see we still got our Princess Snake, we still got a Whis. We're sitting really quite fine. Like, this is probably the best opportunity we're going to have to just kind of take down Vegeta. At this point, I knew we would get the win, barring some really bad luck, which we almost did get, but it's all okay. Vegeta obviously can evade. He's been able to evade for a while. I don't really see him evade too much, not to the depths of what appears to be the GT Goku or the MUI Goku, but he did evade me about 2 or 3 times in a row, unfortunately, near the end, which was a little bit irritating. We take a super attack here where we could have got another stack of damage reduction. This is with a Whis active. We took 287k, which actually isn't that bad, considering they have no dupes. They're at 55%, and we realistically could have got even more damage reduction on them. That's actually okay. The reason why is because, remember, they possibly will have 30% on their own. So in that situation, essentially they could survive on their own if we are at over about 350k. So if we're over about 350k and they hit both of their supers, they're going to have 30% reduction. We're going to have 350k health left. We should survive. So that's really what I wanted to test there, which is great. This rotation is perfectly fine. Gohan's effective against all types doesn't really matter here, obviously, because he is already effective against the AGL phase, but he'll do some decent damage, and his defense is great for healing. The GT Duo as well are clocking in at a very respectable around 500k. Their damage is not great, 2 million, not really a big chance to crit or anything like that, because they're only 55%. But for the most part, they do stack. They're stacking great, and they're going to be just a solid form of healing. That's like our healing rotation. It's going to allow us to get some health back. But we're going to blitz through this phase. The Gobros really did a huge amount of damage. They will continue to do a huge amount of damage. The only reason I didn't switch them into the main rotation, like I said, I wanted to test Tapion and Minotia, and also I thought they'd do a bit better again with the Mystic Gohan. You can see here on this phase, so we're now wrapping up the event. This is only like one turn in the future. I don't know why I bothered skipping ahead. I thought it would take longer in my mind. I was just used to skipping after 2 turns. But here in this situation, this is where we get a little bit done in by the evasions. So we get the one with Mr. Gohan, but we do miss one of our big attacks with our Gobros units, which is quite irritating, especially when you miss like their follow-ups. It is a lot of damage from them. I mean, look how much damage they're doing. So there, he hits an evasion, which is quite irritating. And then we have the Gohan and, well, the Goten and Trunks combo, and like I said, they just don't do a lot of damage. They also don't get their additional super, which is somewhat irritating. So at this point, we are out of items. So all I have is the active skill for Tapion and Minotia. And next round, we actually have 2 strength units on the rotation. So I was a little bit concerned that if we were unlucky, we would be left in a very bad situation. The nice thing about Tapion and Minosia's active skill is it does increase allies' attack and defense as well, which is super helpful. It also gives them ki, which helps them as well, and they're able to hit their 18 ki, which is very crucial. Hitting that 18 ki allows them to have the medium chance of the additional super, and that is what gives us that extra 15% damage reduction, which in turn helps us to complete the event. So you can see here, it's not like we're super low on health. I think possibly if Tapion and Minotia had been hit with the super, we might have lived. We might have lived. Like we might have been left with like a couple thousand health. But luckily that didn't happen. So we managed to get nice big attack from Tapion. I thought it would crit and end the turn, but it didn't. Then Tapion and Minotia basically get him down to nothing. Then they don't additional, which is irritating. So now I'm stressed because I had calculated on the 30% and I was a little bit concerned here with only 15% damage reduction. But Vegeta didn't super and we finished it up with Android 18. So overall, did it pretty well. Yeah, we used all our items, but at the same token, my Tapion and Minotia are only at 55%. And I think them in that final stage being with 1 or 2 more dupes would make that final stage a lot safer. The rest of the team was perfectly fine throughout the entire event. Android 18 obviously a slight concern for that final stage, but as a floater she's not the biggest issue. But yeah, that was pretty much it. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment if you've done this challenge or if you used a different team build I'd like to see, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. That's going to be it from me, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time, and until then, take care, stay safe, and bye.